Are you as angry as I am? Do you hate what modern game development has come to? Yeah, me too. I mean, look at me. I'm living in a constant cycle of nostalgia. Look at this, N64 controllers, Mario 64. I spent all my days speedrunning, living in a cycle of what was, playing endless reruns of Pokemon. Because modern gaming fucking sucks. A game that really strikes a chord with me with this issue is the critically acclaimed Gears of War series. Now, I know what you're thinking. Those first 3 games were awesome. And you're right. But just the first 3 games, where motherfucking Cliff Bleszinski, Cliffy B himself, wanted the fucking game to end. Now, I don't know about this Gears 4 and 5 bullshit, but let's take a look.
No, instead, we got 3 more of these games that were made by its new owner, Microsoft. If you thought that Microsoft would preserve these games' legacy as it once was, then you are sadly mistaken. This game is a shell of what it once was, and the studio they hired to do the execution was none other than the Coalition Studios, Microsoft's flagship game development studio. Don't believe me? Then check this shit out.
Most multiplayer games have a capture the flag game. It just doesn't really fit in the Gears universe. It'd be kind of, weird to see Marcus Phoenix running around a map with a bright red flag or something. That just seems weird. But I could definitely see Marcus Phoenix dragging a body around and using it as a shield while he's fending off the enemy. The best part of this game mode is when both teams are just fighting it out, trying to get to this guy who doesn't care about either one of you. So the whole time he's running around killing everybody, he's talking all kind of trash about how he's owned you and this, that, and the other. And even when you're dragging, he's telling you that you stink.
I mean, it speaks for itself. Gridiron was so bad they ended up removing it from the game altogether. It's like they completely ignored the foundation that Epic had laid out for them. As a new generation of Gears games was coming, it's obvious that they would want to innovate. So you would think that they would leave the game's flagship game mode execution alone while they tried things. But no! They fucked up something so simple!
Well, and we've got here, nothing will ever beat Gears of War 1. Execution is the best ranked mode. It's so intense. I get that for you. For me, I find execution super boring. And I don't like sitting there and waiting, for the round to be over and then to go play again. So I just don't play it because it's not a game mode that I like to play. And based on our player population, more people play like me. And I'm glad that you love execution, and it's and I wish there was more people that did, because I get it's popular, but or I get it's well loved, but this isn't an argument on whether the mode is good or the mode is bad. This is just me giving you guys the facts of straight up, there are some modes that people just don't want to play, and we go in there. And then people are like, well, I can't play. And as you level up and you move higher and so on and so forth, it just becomes more and more of a challenging experience. And it doesn't become fun.
Hold on, let's break this down. What are some of the most popular games on the market? Oh, I don't know. League of Legends? Counter-Strike? Smash Brothers? These are some of the most unintuitive and hard multiplayer games that ever graced God's green earth. But through this, they are some of the most popular games to ever exist. Do you hear how dumb this sounds? They claim that the modes are not popular because they are too hard and unintuitive, so for the longest time, they straight up just removed the modes from the game and forced everyone to essentially just play King of the Hill exclusively. The Coalition's definition of intuitive also makes no sense. I mean, look what they did to Execution. For those of you who don't know, Execution is a 4v4/5v5, depending on the game, single life elimination mode. Just like other games, like Counter-Strike. In Gears, there's these things called executions that spice up the game and makes the game a little more fun. In an attempt to make players actually use these executions, Epic made a game mode called Execution. What do you do in Execution? Well, players are encouraged to fight at close ranges so you can execute the other player. How is this encouraged? Well, when a player goes down, you can't kill the other player from a distance. The game will make a sound that indicates you have to walk up and execute that motherfucker! Take a look for yourself and you decide if this is unintuitive. Yeah, that's right. TC or that ass backwards. Well, according to the Coalition, the sound was confusing players and was unintuitive. So they removed the downrange invulnerability so it wouldn't confuse people.
What were they thinking? Don't you see how wrong this is?
This completely goes against what the game mode is supposed to be. But the game was so disappointing for so long, no one had the energy to complain about it anymore. The game's dead. It's over. No one is playing. Could you imagine if Valve said that single life game modes are boring or unintuitive, so they are gonna remove bomb defusal from the game in favor of a new fresh mode, King of the fucking Hill? There would be outrage! Gamers would be outside of Valve headquarters with torches and pitchforks, demanding for the game to be restored to how it once was! Then imagine if when they did bring it back, due to consumer demand of course, Valve said, okay fine, we'll bring it back, but there's no bomb now, because we think it'll be more fun. Before you defend the Coalition, just hear me out. When Gears of War 1 launched, execution was not even in the game. Epic added it later down the line. Then when it did become a game mode, it surprised Epic. It was popular. Everyone loved it. It was so popular in fact, it ended up being the main tournament mode for MLG. Execution sat hand in hand with competitive Gears of War. You couldn't have one without the other.
Predator going huge. It's off the puff. Off down, and the Insanes will take a 2-0 map lead.
During what I like to call Gears of War's fatherless period, where Cliffy B sold the game to Microsoft, the community had to make do with what they had. They started Hypefestation, which was a community-run grassroots event. The game was starting to get popular again in its own niche little circle. There was a glimmer of hope that the community could enjoy Gears of War for the rest of the time it had left, and the game mode carrying all of this on its shoulders was Execution. It seemed like the good times wouldn't end, but then that is when Microsoft decided they wanted to make more Gears of War games, and you know what happens next. Shit! Shit came flying out and the rest was history. This wouldn't have even been so bad if TC had just respected the original source material. But no! They had to change the entire game's image! It went from being a game about 4 overly masculine brothers in arms killing monsters in an arcadey way in a dark setting to a game like this.
This isn't about you, it's about me.
Gears of War was a game that targeted a certain niche. It is most definitely not a game for everyone. The Coalition kept trying to take a game that was never going to be mainstream and turn it into something it wasn't, at some small hope that it would make the game popular again. Funny enough, the former lead multiplayer designer Ryan Clevin took to Twitter where he personally apologized for fucking up Gears 5 so bad. And then he resigned from the studio! He deleted his Twitter account since then, so those tweets are gone. But trust me, it happened. And you know what? I really respect him for what he did. That took a lot of guts to take responsibility like that. In the aftermath, TC tried to fix the game with patches, but the updates can only do so much. The only way they could have really fixed the game was to remake it from scratch, but we all know they were not going to do that. It's actually funny saying that the game is dead when there's supposed to be one more game left to be made in the new trilogy. But knowing Microsoft and the Coalition, I don't have high hopes for Gears 6. Now, I know I went on a long tangent about Gears of War, but I have a point for all of this. And that point is that these big corporations or game developers, whoever's doing this, just don't know how to let a game die peacefully. They just run it into the ground until it's not even recognizable anymore. You know it's bad in Gears of War's case when they changed the name of the game from Gears of War to Gears. The game couldn't even keep its identity in the end. But that's enough beating a dead horse. Lucky for me though, I have a new game I like to play, and I think you guys might have heard of it. It's a little game called Elden Ring. This game cuts the bullshit. You start up the game and there aren't thousands of menus and UI clutter. There's one menu, and most of the options on that menu are play the game, and play the goddamn game!